organization. I told him at the reception that I was going to tell a few stories from the early 1990s, but I declined, and I won't tell any of those stories because there are no bad ones to tell that I know about. But as many of you all know, Governor Barber also toyed with the idea of running for president, and he decided not to. Thank you, Governor Barber. But Governor Barber represents the kind of leadership that this nation needs, not only at the local level and the state level, but in the White House and in Washington, D.C. And if you look at many of the challenges and the crises we face, leaders make sure that they're working on the right problem, that they assign the right priority, that they surround themselves with good people in order to put together the right plans, in order to fix stuff. And Congressman Buchanan, I will not only sign your balanced budget amendment, I will help you get it to the desk of the White House if I'm President of the United States of America. And our biggest domestic problem is this economy on life support. National security-wise, my philosophy is very simple. It is an extension of the Reagan philosophy. Peace through strength and clarity. Strength. We need to rebuild our military strength. We need to rebuild our economic strength. We need to clarify who our friends are, clarify who our enemies are, and stop giving money to our enemies and stand by our friends like Israel. The economy. Many of you all know that I have put a bold plan on the table to deal with this economy. We need to put some fuel in that economic engine. So my plan for economic growth starts with throwing out the current tax code. That's where we begin. It's been an albatross around our necks for decades. Throw it out. And then pass in the form of legislation my 999 plan that maybe some of you all have heard about. 999. And for those of you who may not be familiar with it, you can find the description of it at hermancain.com, but also tomorrow you will also be able to find at hermancain.com 999 the movie. It's only 5 minutes long, so you don't have to take a long time to look at it. We need economic growth. All of the debate about cutting is great, but we got to get this economy growing because that has traditionally been one of our greatest strengths. And I happen to believe that we can do that. We can do that with the right people in the right places to lead this country. I grew up in Atlanta, Georgia. My mother was a domestic worker. My father was a barber, a janitor, and a chauffeur. And they taught my brother and I to believe in 3 things in order to achieve our American dream. Believe in God, believe in yourself, and believe in the greatest country in the world, the United States of America. And you can achieve your dream. And we grew up in a time that was turbulent here in this nation. One of the greatest things about America is its ability to change. in our very short 235-year history, it's been our ability to change and rise to the occasion that has allowed this nation to become the greatest nation in the world. And we face some dramatic, significant changes today. In 1999, my first grandchild was born. 1999, when my first grandchild was born, and I first looked into that little face, the first thought that crossed my mind wasn't, what do I do to make this, to give her a better start in life? It wasn't, what do I do to make sure she gets a good education? The first thought that went through my mind was, what do I do to make this a better nation and a better world? That was 12 years ago. I didn't know the answer then. I didn't discover that the answer to that question was to get on this journey and run for president until after President Obama took office, and I watched the arrogant disregard for the American people, and I felt compelled, like many of you, to do something about it. We are doing something about it. It is because of the strength of the Sarasota County GOP and other Republican organizations throughout this state and throughout this nation. It's going to allow us to take back the White House, maintain control of the House, and gain control of the United States Senate. People often wonder how's the Cain campaign coming along in the state of Florida. Well, let's just say that it was Florida that set my campaign on fire with the Florida straw poll at the P5 a few months ago. Thank you very much for that. We are very fortunate to have a very dynamite team working here in the state of Florida that's helping us out. I'm not going to try to name all of the team members, but I do want to identify our state director, Ms. Kathleen Shanahan. Kathleen, please raise your hand. Because as I mentioned, leadership is about working on the right problem, assigning the right priority, and surrounding yourself with good people. That will allow you to put together the plans that are necessary in order to do the things that we need to do. I am optimistic that we can fix America's problems because we've got the solutions if we have the will to do so. Relative to national security, relative to the economy, relative to illegal immigration, relative to foreign policy, we have the solution. Relative to energy and becoming energy independent, we have the resources to become energy independent. We simply need the will. And in order to have the will of the nation, we need an executive in the executive office, not a community organizer. I recall President Reagan, how he used to inspire this nation. He would inspire this nation by describing it as that shining city on a hill. That shining city on a hill that all of the rest of the world would look up to. But in the last several years, that shining city on a hill has slipped down to the side of the hill. But as your president, if you give me that opportunity, We will lead